because I want to maintain my respect within my family, within my tribe. You understand?
So the slave trade never happened?
Who said that? I told you the slave trade started with Native Americans being brought to England. That's what I said. I never said that. You know what I'm saying? The Africans that eventually were brought here, you know what I mean? They were brought here because they couldn't enslave us anymore. You understand? Why? Because you can't enslave a man in his own home. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you right now, all these inventions, they give credit to African Americans. Ain't no African gonna come to the Americas and tell you when to plant your stuff. It's a science you gotta study. It ain't the same over there as it is here. You gotta know the land, right? So all these achievements that we ascribe to African Americans, these are achievements by Native Americans who had to take on the identity of being African American because they was hanging us. But you think they was hanging people because they was Africans. Africans just want to go home. Nigga from here want to take his shit over. That's a threat. You understand? So all these niggas you seen getting hung in the South, it ain't what you think. They hanging these people because they knew the routes. You understand? They hanging these people because they all had the potential to be Harriet Tubman. Because they all could lead these people in a path to get them away from these Europeans. You know what I'm saying? I can name countless tribes that relocated up into mountains because they didn't want to deal with these Europeans. You know what I'm saying? And those same tribes are still here, but we we call Negro, we call color, we call all these different things. And when we try and bring this information to a lot of our people who are black and proud, and I understand that. I understand what's, the process that made us proud to be black, everything we came through. But the point of the matter is you all come from tribes. I don't care if you know your tribe or not, you descend from a tribe. And tribes are the only one that have legal jurisdiction over lands. See, the problem is our people don't rise above corporate law. Corporate law is the glass ceiling that you cannot rise above. When you rise above corporate law and understand what international law, which is based on treaty, right? When the police come through here and they snatch us all up, they're gonna snatch me with you. But when the remedy comes, my remedy is gonna be much different. Because they know who I am and they know they don't have jurisdiction over me via any of this false paperwork. You understand? So my thing is this, we looking for people, we looking for a way out, but all the people who are trying to provide a way out don't have jurisdiction over this land. We need to deal with the people who have the actual jurisdiction of this land, and we need to empower them. The same way the gays were able to create a platform for themselves politically and things of that nature, we have to come together as a people. We have to rally behind the people who actually have the authority, or what's going to happen is the same thing that happened in Haiti. Now, for a lot of people to understand what happened in Haiti, when Haiti overthrew the French, all they did was step into the powers of position that the French held. They didn't go back to their indigenous culture or their indigenous way of life. So now what you have is, you have a second world government being overthrown. When I say second world government, I'm saying the second government on any land is corporate government. The first government is indigenous, or the tribal government, which signs the charters and the deeds which allows the corporations to operate on your land. That's called the second world. The third world is somebody who's left out of the first and second world, meaning you're not a tribal government and you're not a corporate government. So when Haiti overthrew the corporate government that was instilled by France, and they didn't reinstate their indigenous government dealing with their clan mothers and their tribes and things of that nature, they fell into what you call a third world country. Now, these third world countries don't have any allies because they're not aligned with the indigenous tribes, and they're not aligned with the corporations because they just overthrew one. So now what happens, you have Haiti in the situation that it's in now. Also, you have a situation like that with the Lakota out on the reservations. They third world countries because they signed away their indigenous rights, they agreed to go on reservations, and now that they don't have no remedy, right, nobody is responsible for them, they've fallen into a situation of poverty, you know what I mean, and it's worse than any project in any hood you ever been to. And just one more thing I want to say. When we talk about reservations, you go to a reservation, you see poverty, you see churches, and you see liquor stores. When you go to any hood, you see poverty, you see churches, and you see liquor stores. So what make you think you're not on a reservation? Yeah, that's what's really going on here. And all these other people posturing, trying to push their religion. I ain't never said one word about my people's religion, because I don't have to, because that's personal. right? When I talk about my history, I'm not going to talk about the history of my religion. I'm talk about the history of my people and us having jurisdiction over these Europeans here, right? So ain't no foreign religion going to save you in our situations. That's personal. Keep it to yourself. What we have to deal with is who has the real power and jurisdiction. And it's not Kemet, right? It's not Nubia. It's none of these places here. The people who have jurisdiction are the tribes, and we need to deal with the tribes, whether you know your tribe or not. That's who you need to empower. The same way old people empower other old people and they control their votes, the same way homosexuals control their votes, we need to control our stuff dealing with the fact that we're indigenous people. But we also have to understand that just because you are melanated, don't think you're not a colonizer. Because if you hear from another land and you pushing another culture here, you colonizing. Now, when you come here and you respect the cultures that was here and you assist them, they'll assist you. And I'm telling you now, it's groups that have been at the UN for the past 2 weeks that I'm sure none of you know about. And they look just like me and you. And a lot of y'all would call them crazy because you say they trying to be something they not. But they sitting in the UN banging on the beast for real. You understand? And that's who we need to start dealing with. We need to start dealing with real movements that have real power and jurisdiction. I understand the street movements, we feel good about ourselves, we feel like we're doing something, but when we start dealing with real politics and really taking control of our cultures and our futures, we have to deal with the people who have jurisdiction over the land. We have to get behind them. So all I'm saying is the same way we come to these rallies, these events, this is just what a powwow look like.
Of course.
Same thing. We need to start dealing with them. We need to start dealing with those nations because they are represented as nations. And when the European came here, there was no such thing as an RBG nation. There's no treaties for the RBG, right? There's no treaty for Muslims. There's no treaty for none of these people, right? But there's treaties for the original tribes that was here. And every one of y'all got a piece of that in you. Whether your father was from Africa and your mother was from the Americas, you're still entitled to your mother's inheritance, right? So this is what we have to start dealing with. This is why they passed the one-drop rule. They passed the one-drop rule because you had our brothers and sisters who were so amalgamated and light-skinned, they could pass themselves off for white. But when they go home to their black mothers. And they feared that, you understand? So they had to create racial categories, and they had to stunt your development based on that racial category. So as long as we keep feeding into these racial categories, right, we playing their game. People need to find out their nationality, and no disrespect to the Moors, but Moorish Americans not a nationality. You know what I'm saying? And I love the Moors, I love how they build, I love the information they bring to the forefront, but let's deal with it. And I've dealt with Moors who admit to that, but let's just deal with it. Nationality, you're gonna deal with a language, a location, more than likely a river, right? My people call the Lenape. Okay.
One last question. I'm sorry, BAM is closed, and I want to get this in before we leave. Saying what you said about the Moors and that not being a nationality, how do you feel about Noble Drew Ali and what he brought to this country?
Noble Drew Ali did what he was supposed to do. He woke people up. Because see, when you study Noble Drew Ali, he'll tell you he was part Cherokee. So him establishing his jurisdiction through his Cherokee roots is all you have to do. Another thing people don't realize, where did Noble Drew Ali establish the first Moorish Science Temple?
It's in the South.
Nah.
It's in the South. South Carolina, North Carolina.
First Moorish Science Temple was located in Newark, New Jersey, right? My tribal headquarters was in East Orange. Anybody that's familiar with Newark and East Orange know it's the same place. So you think that Noble Drew Ali was establishing a headquarters for a nation down the street from a tribal headquarters and didn't have some interaction with those people? You understand? It's protocol and things of this nature. So Noble Drew Ali do what he was supposed to do, because like I said before, when people fall out of their identities, they take on a general term, just like we call ourselves black. So when people fell out of their nationalities because they was being outlawed and you couldn't be that, or else your family would be separated. You understand? If you had a light-skinned child and a brown-skinned child, they would separate the children, right? So to avoid all that, you say, well, I'm not Cherokee, I'm not Choctaw, I'm not Lenape, I'm Negro. Because now you can stay in your territory, you can stay where you own land, where you owned your farms, but you are no longer a threat because the Indians, right, so-called Indians, had jurisdiction. Did you know 100 years ago, if you were sick, you can go find an Indian, go to a doctor, and the doctor got to treat you free of charge if the Indian bring you in there? Yeah. Because he's indigenous to the land, and these people are foreign occupiers, right? So when you have a large group of indigenous people that can't be taxed, that's another thing. Indian mean, fuck all that other shit. Indian means you can't get taxed by the European.
Gotcha.
So if you niggas want to run around here and be something you not, fine. Indian means you can't be taxed. That's why they had to take you out of that status, so they could tax you. Because they got 1,000 people coming into their stores, and they can't tax none of them. They can't make money, right? So they got to remove you from who you are so they can raise them prices on you. It's all economics. Indeed, you can check me out on, right now you can see me at Norris Francis, Branham on Turtle Gang. Just type in Turtle Gang. All my stuff will come up. Check me out at Boom Bap Nation. We doing big things with this hip hop movement, man. You know, and I'm always out here. I'm always in the background. I'm always lurking. I just, you know, I'm more reserved than a lot of these other people, but I got some information for you, you know what I mean? And I can show and prove for all of this. You understand? Everything.